I don't like 47. I didn't vote for him. But I think the H1B visa thing is actually a good move. And in fact, I actually think the H1B visa should probably be eliminated altogether. And I'm going to explain why. And I think this is one of those things where we need to have a more nuanced conversation when it comes to immigration in this country, because there are things that Democrats don't want to touch because it's so averse to what a lot of people on the left feel. Because I think a lot of people on the left are not really considering the consequences of a lot of the policies that are implemented, and also falling victim to the propaganda around it. So the thing with H1B visas is that it's supposed to fill a need where Americans don't have the skills to do the job, right? Americans are supposed to get first dibs on jobs in America. And if an American can't fill the role, then they're going to give it to an H1B, right? To an H1B visa. Here's the thing. A lot of the messaging we've received about Americans not being qualified for these jobs, it's a lie. If you look,
It's always been a lie. The reason these companies do this is to hire foreign workers who are going to work for less. Specifically, a lot of the times it's Indians, because they'll work twice as hard for half the pay, and then they're at the mercy of the company, because without the H-1B visa, without the sponsorship, they got to go back to India. And a lot of the times, these Indians come from universities with fake degrees, come from universities that don't exist. They're just university mills that just give you fake degrees. They don't know how to do the jobs a lot of the times. And these companies don't realize that they're hiring these guys for half the price. But now, twice the work, 3 times the work has to be done, because an American will eventually have to fix it, because the work is not done properly. But let's listen to what she's got to say, and then I'll give my full opinion at the end.
look, if you do the research, you will find that we have more than enough people who are qualified to do these tech jobs, nursing jobs, all these different jobs that H-1B visas are taking. There are plenty of Americans that can do these jobs. And the thing is, really, like, think further. Think about the big picture. Americans are in an insane amount of debt from going to universities in this country. A lot of people come from their countries to get university educations here because they'll do better when they go back to their country. Okay? People come here to train for sports because they'll do better in sports when they join the teams in their countries. So if there's so many universities here that people from all over the world are coming to so that they can receive the education they need to do better in their country. And in fact, there's a problem with a lot of countries sending people here and having them spy and steal information and research from America.
Yeah, this is a big problem, especially with China. China often sends students to study here in prestigious universities where they do research, and oftentimes they're stealing the research. And sometimes they get caught, but sometimes they don't. And so China's getting this free research at the cost of the American taxpayer.
American universities, which they then use in their countries. Did you see how many countries, when the government started defunding all of these different research projects, did you see how many countries jumped at hiring all these American researchers? Why do you think that is? We, as taxpayers, publicly fund all of this research that these universities have. And then it's given to these corporations and they sell it back to us. Like, for example, medication, right? So a lot of what's going on in the universities, a lot of the information, the knowledge, the innovation, it's not really being implemented in the US, but everyone else is benefiting from it. Okay, that's one. The other thing is that people are coming here to get that because they want it. They want all of the research and the information we have and the education we have here. And then somehow Americans are not qualified. Americans that are in a ton of debt are not qualified to do these jobs, so they're going to give it to people who don't have any university debt. No, the reality is that the government has been trying to get rid of the middle class. They don't want to give Americans the benefits and all of the, the high salaries and all these things they would need to give them to have a good quality of life. So it's easier to say we don't have qualified people. We need to hire people from another country. And then these people come here and they want to get citizenship. So they're not going to complain. They're not going to demand as much. I believe a lot of them are not even paid as well. Right? And then add to that the fact that you should really talk to people who have worked with people who have H-1B visas. I've seen nurses talk about how they work in a hospital and there are a lot of H-1B visa nurses and they get in, they don't like Americans, so they bully them out of the job so that they can get more of their own in. So this is something that, I know it's uncomfortable to talk about, but this is part of the reason why Democrats are losing and why the left is losing, because you're not willing to have these conversations about the reality of how immigration has been weaponized. This is just one way that immigration has been weaponized against Americans. There are a lot of other ways. And the thing is, when I've had these conversations with immigrants, they often agree with me. But if I try to have the conversation with Americans, like first gen or like longer, that have been in this country, born in this country far longer, y'all don't want to hear it. Immigrants know what I'm talking about.
It's leftist.
But for some reason, a lot of like left-leaning Americans don't want to hear it, don't want to believe it. And I think it's because it challenges this idea that you're a good person and that you would never harm people. And I've even heard a lot of people on the left say, well, you know, we allow these policies because even though it has all these consequences, we don't want anyone that is deserving not to be able to get into the country. But that's not a good way to think. That's harmful. You can't harm American citizens to benefit someone else. Like that, no, not at all, ever. That shouldn't be a thing. And so anyway, that's my opinion on the whole H1B visa thing. I know some people are not going to like to hear that, but it's the reality. And the fact is that if Democrats had been more willing to approach these topics.
I'm going to cut her off right there because we're just going to give our opinion on it. I'm 100% in agreement with her. We have known for a very long time that the H1B system has been abused. That was a big contention after Donald Trump got elected in November of last year with Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, which are, I know Elon Musk for a fact is an immigrant. He wasn't born in the United States. He's in favor of the program. I don't know if Vivek is an immigrant himself or if he's a first generation American and his parents are immigrants. The point is that they're in favor of it, and a lot of Americans aren't in favor of it because what's happening is that instead of giving the job, like she said, to Americans, to Americans who deserve the job, they go ahead and send those jobs out to or recruit from countries like India or whatever, where all these people are coming from, where they will work for half as much to pay, half the pay and twice as hard, or twice as long during the day. Let's not necessarily say twice as hard. And then they're at the mercy of these companies because these companies once they lose their sponsorship, they got to go back to their country. In terms of, I know they say that we need the best and the brightest, and it's true, but we can foment our own talent in the United States. If these countries have these best and brightest, why are we taking these people who are the best and brightest, who can potentially benefit their country, why are we taking them for their country and bringing them to ours? It's like she said, you can't say you want these things, to benefit one group at the detriment of another. Because we'll get the best and brightest, right? But now we're hurting that country. We're not allowing that country to develop and do the things that needs to be done to better their country. And again, it's not just a one-way street. Again, even if these are the best and the brightest, right? You're taking the jobs away from Americans, like she said, to give them to people that are not American, who are gonna come over here and work for half as much, and then you're hurting both groups. Not both groups. There's two groups that are hurt and two groups that benefit. So the company benefits from this. The employee who gets hired benefits from this. And the two groups that are hurt is the American citizen and that country, because now they lost one of their brighter minds who could have potentially come up with something that could eventually help out their country, develop and be a better country overall in general. And it's true. And the Democrats don't want to have these conversations about immigration. This system is abused, and I 100% agree with Trump in signing that executive order that has companies, they now have to pay $100,000 per employee per year if they want to sponsor them. But the sad and unfortunate thing about the whole thing is that this isn't going to change much, because this is probably only going to be active for as long as we have Trump as president, or if J.D. Vance gets elected in 2028, for example. Because I guarantee you that once a Democrat gets in there, they're going to rescind that executive order. They're going to rescind it because they're going to say, oh, we need the immigrants. Oh, we need the labor. And I saw a lot of people online saying like, oh, this is the fall of America. Like America's going to fall within 20 years. No, we're not. We're not. It's like she said, people come here to study. People don't go abroad and study abroad. People come here to study. We have the bright minds. We have the systems. We have the infrastructure to foment our own geniuses. to foment our own talent. And if a company really needs that employee, because they absolutely couldn't find an American, they will pay that $100,000. We have way too many kids coming out of school with a shit ton of student loan debt who can't find jobs. And this is the reason why I think a lot of these kids, a lot of the younger generations are increasingly moving towards socialism. They agree with this shit because they're like, yo, I just went to school. I'm $60,000 in debt. I went and got this degree and I can't find a job. So I need somebody to take care of me, get rid of my student loan debt. And the conversation is shifting. Now, the whole college thing is being seen as a scam. So I 100% agree with this lady, and I 100% agree with what Trump has said. And she even said that she's not a fan of Trump. So this is not a Trump supporter, but this is a person who is willing to have a serious conversation around problems that we are having as a country and the abuse of immigration at the detriment of America. That is the problem. If the system wasn't being so abused and the American people didn't feel like they were being replaced by low-wage workers from other countries, I don't think Americans would have would have a problem, or the increasing problem that Americans are having with immigration, even legal immigration, because there are people coming out that are just saying, just completely close the borders. Completely close them. We don't need any more people. We have enough. But that's because of everything that's been going on. But I'm going to wrap it up there. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your friends. And if you have anything you want me to react to, my email is in the description box below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.